Welcome back to the case study of Vanitas. Why I keep saying Vanitas just sounds a little more interesting than Vantas, but yeah, right now we're on episode 8. Yes, episode 8. We're reviewing the 8th episode of the anime Catacombes, where death slumbers. This one adapts pretty much from the rest of chapter 13 because two of the 39 pages of chapter 13 were adapted last week. And this week, they adapt pretty much the rest of that, and plus the entirety of chapter 14. So basically, with this episode, the Ball Masquerade arc is officially done. Completely 100% done. It took a while, though. Yes, it took like it took like 6 episodes to cover this arc. Which is something, though, because the arc itself in the manga is like 8 chapters. Now, the arc that this episode kind of does start is Untran's Hunters of the Dark. Yes, this arc is not very long. It's only just 6 chapters, and that's it. This one adapts the opening episode. Chapter 8. First, we start off basically with Vantas, Noe, meeting with Lord Raven, who's there with his adoptive nephew, Luca, who is revealed in this episode to be the Grand Duke, basically make him the advisor to the Queen. Though, given the fact Lord Ravenoff is in fact his guardian, he handles a lot of duties, despite the fact that in the case of Luca, he's pretty much in name only at the moment. He basically, his authority is recognized, but a lot of duties basically associated with the Grand Duke is handled by his uncle. And Jeannie is there. She doesn't really do anything in this episode. Not really, no. She just stands around, gets knocked down briefly. So, they attempt to have a conversation with Lord Ravenoff, where he attempts to want to know about, Vanitas, where he came from, and basically what the grimoire. First, he asks about Luca's brother, who is a curse bearer. And Lord Raven is like, don't talk about it ever again. Like, okay, I have a request. Take me to your queen. And he's like, why? Because I wanted to evaluate if she's responsible for the curse bearers, even though she probably has no evidence to support it. And apparently he gets offended by it. Jeannie, of course, tries to stop him. She, of course, gets knocked away. And, of course, his nephew, Luca, basically tries to stop him. And then, of course, Vantas and Noe are kicked out. Before the conversation, we do apparently know he's very interested in gadgets. He has a fondness for gadgets. He's like drooling over. He's like, oh, he explains how it works, and he's like so interested in that. Because apparently he grew up like in the backwoods. He apparently has no idea what the heck this technology is. So he gets kicked out and basically escorted out of the vampire world, past the very no problem. Speaks to the Count. He is very unhappy with basically what happened. He's basically told to get out. And don't worry, the Count will be back. I don't know when. It just, like, okay, so it's like you have him active somewhat in the first arc of the series. And then for this arc, you just basically don't do anything with the guy. I'm like, really? Yeah, it's kind of dumb. Like, and it's so funny, though, that the fact that Noe's cat basically follows him around a lot of the episode. We're just thinking, why the heck would you bring around a cat for? Yeah. Yeah. So basically, after dealing with, the Count, they meet up with, the informants, basically, who work for Vanitas, which are Dante, John, and Ricci, which are all Dampers. What are these creatures? Half human, half human. And they work Vanitas as information brokers. And they're basically, he tells them, this of course starts up the whole thing with a group of people known as the Chevars, I think it's you pronounce them. Let me look up basically their name. Let's see here. They are called the Chasseurs. Mm-hmm. Yes. One of the leaders, Ronald Furtitz, he is actually introduced in this very episode. Yep. Yeah, basically his introduction basically happened in chapter 13, just set up this very arc. So, Vanitas, Noe, Moore, and the three half-breeds, well, the Dampers, they go to the Paris Catacombs, which is a real tourist attraction. Now, in case you're probably thinking, like, how would I know that? Because I read about it. I personally have never been to Paris. My parents have. I personally have never been to Paris. So I have no idea what the thing looks like in real life. Like, not in person. I've only seen pictures of this place. I know this place exists per se. It's just that I've never been there. Because it's thousands of miles away. And it's also, the only way to get there is by freaking plane flight. Though I highly that you can fly there through all the COVID restrictions right now. Yes. So, moving on from that. So, it's like, okay, so they think that, this might be of interest to this particular group of people who are referred to as the Vatican. Well, the way to describe it is like they're the Vatican's anti-vampire unit. Which, okay, that's interesting. Not the first series I come across where they actually have had a group like this. I mean, they had this also in the series Hellsing. Very similar organization, except that was known as Judas Iscariot. In a case of this is a completely different organization, but very similar principle. Hunting vampires. So, and these people apparently are like a roguish group. Now, we just have, after they leave off with the three Dampers, we have Vanitas going on his own, investigating Noe just happily chipping along. Vanitas does not want him along for some reason. Well, come along, fine, whatever. Got nothing else better to do. So, they go of all places, Notre Dame, which they don't say it's Notre Dame, even though clearly by visually it's Notre Dame. My parents have actually been there. Mm-hmm. Yes. Though at the time when they visited, this is actually back in like 1990, I think it was, when they went on like a brief European tour. My parents told me when I was about 2 that they dropped me off with my aunt and uncle in Germany. And at the time, basically, they dropped me off there. The Berlin Wall was coming down. Yes, seriously. That's what seriously happened at the very same time. So my parents bought a piece of the Berlin Wall home with them. Yes, and we still have the damn thing. We actually, last I saw, it was kept in one of those one of my mom's glass vases. And I'm told this is a genuine piece of the actual Berlin Wall that existed in Berlin from the 60s to around 1990. Yeah, so they went there, and when they went to Notre Dame, the place was going to partially remodel, but they would at least go inside of it, no problem. Excuse me. So, and what I can tell, I got at least get handed to Studio. What is this studio's name? Makes a series. Let's see if I can find it here. Bones. Yeah, Studio Bones. Like, wow. I at least got handed to it. Like, the way outside-wise, wow, this is really accurate to how Notre Dame looks in real life. Now, is this the first like cartoonish thing have I seen Notre Dame in? What have I seen Notre Dame in? Well, let's see. I saw it in the opening scene of Van Helsing, the Disney Hunchback of Notre Dame. I saw it in the live action adaptation where we featured Wishbone, a talking dog, even though you'll hear the last movie, basically hear his head, where he basically is based out of Notre Dame. Let's see. I'm trying to think what other places, what other things I think if I featured it. Let's see. Did Helsing? No, Helsing never went to Paris. No, he never did. Let's see. And then besides this one, where they went to Notre Dame? The only series you could probably say they could have gone there, a couple of them maybe could have been like Black Butler, or let's see, aside from Black Butler, maybe like the only series that could have basically gone to this place is maybe The Gray Man. But no, they never went to Paris. Yeah, the case study of Vanitas is the only series I've come across where they actually go to Paris. Paris is a place basically you don't really see very much in Japanese like material like this. I mean, the only thing else come close to this is basically for JoJo having a whole section of the series set in frickin' Italy. That was Golden Wind, which happened for the anime, which was really good. I did review that 2 years ago. Yep. So they go in, and of course, Noe is like, wow, this place is so amazing. And it's like, something doesn't look right here. And then, of course, Vantes just happened to know exactly where to go. He hits the device. Oh, look, a piece of floorboard goes underneath. There's another catacomb. Okay, so they go, and they go to this particular room that looks like something out of, like, a museum. And then, of course, then comes a paladin coming in. This, of course, is Ronald, who explains this is actually not a tomb for regular humans. Oh, no, this catacomb is for vampires. Yes, vampires. He explained that one of them was basically the one they were looking at was actually a high-ranking official of a vampire, which, of course, these vampires were killed by the Cushers when they dared to attempt the tombs of Paris. So, and they claim, of course, prior to this, they had stolen these uniforms off to, look like two legitimate priests, and they just, well, go to this particular area, like, looks like very well lit, this something underground. And of course, Vantes is locked through a cell. And then Noe basically is blinded by a flash grenade of all things. Yes, a flash grenade that makes vision very blurry. In case you're curious though, like, is this accurate to a real life flash grenade? From what I heard, yes. Definitely indeed. And as a matter of fact, you actually can use flash grenades in a lot of video games. And of course, well, that thing ends with basically Ronald thinking he's gonna kill Noe, and that's the episode. Gotta hand this episode really good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Can't wait for next week. And we don't have many episodes left for this season. Well, not for this first half anyway. There are like 4 left, and then apparently there's gonna be a second cure. Don't know when it's gonna happen, but I think that in the case of the episodes that are left, there is a slight possibility that this arc might be the last one. It's possible. There's only, like, they just adapted chapter 14 in this one. So there's roughly 5 chapters left. So I would not be surprised, though, if this basically just be this one. And part 2, when it does come out, it probably definitely Return to the Beast arc would. This one covers a lot of chapters. How many? 24. It is quite long. Yep. So yeah, that's episode review, and normally next will be Case Closed. But once again, the series decided to take a week off for some strange reason. I have no idea why. It's by far a really baffling thing. Like, here I am, expecting basically Case Closed to come out, and once again, the series decided to take a week off. I'm like, did we just go through this, like, not too long ago? Yeah, because, well, Stakeout came out just last week, and I figured though they would have another episode this week. Nope, we have to delay it like every other week for some reason. Like, it seems as though like after being like weekly for quite a while, it's like okay, let's just have it where like after episode 1014, take a week off, do Stakeout, take another week off before we do this two-parter. And I'm like, why? It's one of the most baffling things. Like, why would you take another break for it? It makes no freaking sense. Like, unless they really need it, but at least freaking announce it. But God forbid they do that. Okay? So, yeah, that's episode review. Next one, Harvey, One Piece. Okay? That's the video. Bye.